You may remember earlier in this week that there was a lot of hype about this low pressure system that will be moving through the Great Lakes region tomorrow. In this video, I'm going to talk about exactly what has changed with that forecast. It's actually looking more like some thunderstorms for portions of Indiana and Ohio, and some of those could be strong. And then also that snow potential that we have in the Upper Peninsula, and then the lake effect snow potential that will follow. And I will say those snow potential accumulations look pretty low. Hello everybody, the time is 7:47 p.m. and it is December the 8th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. Hopefully everybody's doing well today, and we have 17 days left until Christmas Day. And again, I'm sure everyone's hyped up for a white Christmas. Well, that certainly isn't going to come to us just yet, and it doesn't really look like the models are hinting at that yet, but that's for a later time. Right now we're dealing with the possibility of some thunderstorms, as a matter of fact, across portions of Indiana and Ohio tomorrow, associated with a strong cold front with this deepening low that is moving through portions of the plains right now. It's going to draw off some moisture that will be getting pulled from the Gulf of Mexico. So there's a lot to look at with this system. So we're going to dive into a few models, and now that we're closer to the event, we can actually start to say these things with a bit more certainty with regards to what is expected. But again, it's still raw model data, and there's still some trend changes that I've seen with the HRRR in regards to possibility for more thunderstorms in portions of southern Indiana. So that's something we're going to have to be watching out for. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with the GFS and kind of the nationwide view. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that there's a low pressure system off to the north. What we should be watching for this event tomorrow is this low region here. This low region is going to start to deepen as it follows along that air mass boundary. Okay, so it's going to continue moving up into this area. This low pressure system up here will begin to shift to the northeast. So you can see that as we loop this just a little bit. And notice here that low right here begins to deepen as it approaches parts of Wisconsin. You see a few rain showers, probably going to be some heavy rain showers. I don't think there's going to be too much in terms of thunderstorms with this portion of it. Temperatures are actually going to be rather cool, and there's a lack of instability present with this set of rainfall at the center of the low. I think there could be some thunderstorms in portions of Indiana and Ohio. And as you look at, as we get closer to around 7 a.m., you do start to see that pretty clear cold front starting to show itself. This is following a pretty strong trough and that deepening low that is associated in between the two. So you see we have had some pretty warm temperatures today, temperatures in the 50s, and temperatures will be in the 50s for much of the Great Lakes region tomorrow, unless you are on the western side of the Upper Peninsula where you could see some snow. But this cold front's really going to start to change temperatures, okay? You see that cold front really starting to show up as we get to around 10 a.m. on Saturday, okay? Then as you progress it forward, you start to see a few clusters of thunderstorms actually start to pop up across portions of Indiana. Now, severe levels on these probably not going to be present. I think the severe weather threat for this whole event for Indiana and Ohio is pretty low, okay? Why do I say that? Well, despite the fact that there is some pretty high wind shear, okay, instability values are very low, below 300, okay? If we want a shear-driven event to really have a decent amount of strength, we usually look for Cape values a little bit higher than 300, and at 300 or below is really not enough to really bring these storms to some intensity. Nevertheless, will not rule out potential for some strong winds with these storms, and some models are actually hinting at a slight tornado threat with these, but again, the probability of that occurring is pretty low. And you can see that these rain showers and thunderstorms start to progress with the cold front as we get into the afternoon, and then as we get closer to dark, 7 p.m. when it is dark, we have a nice line going across portions of Ohio. So question is, chaseable scenario? Probably not going to chase this event. Not going to be enough time or not enough daylight, and the threat does not look robust enough to really foster a decent chase. Now again, I may, if it gets more local, if it starts to impact portions of northern Indiana, I may go out and just check out those little storm clusters. Maybe we'll have to see how things pan out. But again, the threat for severe weather is going to be low from this. One thing to watch out for also as well is that low as it progresses to the Upper Peninsula, that rain transition to snow possible that we could potentially see. So that's the one thing we're watching with this low pressure system as it moves off to the northeast. That returning trough also might bring some lake effect snow to portions of western Michigan, and then also northern and even portions of central eastern Michigan as well. So there will be a little bit of lake effect snow, not enough to really drive up big hazards or potential traffic impacts. I think it's going to be pretty low. So again, a different tone from what was brought about by myself and some people earlier in the week that were claiming that this could possibly lead to a bigger snowstorm. Not looking like the case. Looking like a few thunderstorms in the south, and then maybe some snow across lakeshore counties, and then also the Upper Peninsula as well. Let's get a more regional view, get a closer look as to what we could be expecting. This is the Euro model, okay? So this is not the GFS, a little bit different. You do still see that it is indicating that rainy area around the center of low pressure, moving off to the northeast. Pretty consistent with what the GFS is saying as well. You see that well-defined cold front, and you see that quick transition in the upper level pattern from a warmer ridge to a cooler trough in the backside. So again, progressing it forward, you could see that there is the development of a line of gusty rain showers, maybe a few embedded thunderstorms here and there. You can see cloud bases, again, they're going to be low-topped storms. And again, really the gusty portion of these will be driven by the shear. The Euro actually depicts little to no instability when these pop up across portions of the region on Saturday. Not even in the mixed layer. Doesn't even look like. Doesn't look too robust in this region. Now, as you notice, it will start to kind of develop some thunderstorms across parts of Kentucky. These might potentially move to the northeast and get into portions of Ohio. Now, getting a sounding down there, looking a little bit different. You do start to see a little bit of cape developing across portions of Ohio as we progress it forward, and you see there cape values at the surface and mixed layer are around 400. You do have a little bit of 3 cape, surface level cape, and then also that wind shear that will be driving the potential for maybe some gusty winds with these storms. Okay, I don't really see a good setup for tornadoes. Again, the cape and instability is not there, but again, we do have that directional and speed shear present, and that could foster a few stronger wind gusts with these. I don't think we may not even get past 60 miles an hour, maybe even 50 miles an hour with some of these storms. Might get lucky if we get that far. But you see those storms continue to progress across portions of Ohio into the evening and overnight hours, and those move out of the area. You do see that snow still continuing across portions of the Upper Peninsula Saturday night into Sunday, and that's again associated with that low that is moving off to the northeast. And then you start to see lake effect begin to develop. You get a sounding up near the Upper Peninsula, and you do have a somewhat acceptable setup for some lake effect snow. Okay, you do have a dendritic growth zone of between 5,000 and 11,000 feet. You do have dews that are starting to meet up with the temperature as you get higher up into the atmosphere, so that temperature drop will impact the potential for lake effect snow in that region. And that will also be present across portions of western Michigan as well. The Euro doesn't depict that as well as the HRRR does, which we will look at the HRRR in just a second. Then it gets colder. We've had some nice temperatures today and nice temperatures tomorrow, but it will start to get colder following this event. NAM is, again, a convective allowing model that can provide some insight as to where some cells could pop up with the thunderstorm threat. So let's get that just a little bit. You do see that it looks kind of rugged with regards to pop-up rain showers. We'll have to see how that pans out. The HRRR is depicting just a cold front, a line of rain and thunderstorms along the cold front. But you can start to see that cold front begin to develop also on the NAM model as it shows up here. Progressing it forward as we get into around 3 p.m., you see a few pop-up thunderstorms across southern Ohio, getting a sounding ahead of those. Again, it does depict not too much instability, but again, it does depict that nice strong wind shear associated with these storms that we'll be moving through. And then as we get closer, you can start to see a much more well-defined line ahead of that embedded cold front as well. And then you start to see that potential for marginally severe storms pop up. You got your probable hazard type there. Your cape values, your mixed layer cape gets close to 400, 500, so could bring a little bit of hail with that if you get that nice mixed layer cape and that nice directional shear and speed shear up there. So that's going to be something to watch out for. Maybe a few hailstones with those storms moving through, but again, small hail probably is going to be the main thing to watch out for. That moves off to the area, and then again, NAM is depicting also the potential for some lake effect snow on the backside of this system. Looking at the HRRR, we're going to focus on this one a little bit more as well, But progressing it forward, you can see one thing the NAM depicts is a more structured line, and especially beginning across portions of southern Indiana as we get into the afternoon. This is the farthest run out, but it is depicting some marginally severe setup for some storms, even in portions of southern Indiana, and that's something that has been new from the latest models recently. And again, good speed shear, good directional shear. Again, instability though is low, and the air temperatures are low, but dew points are matching up with the temperatures, so those cooler temperatures really aren't going to foster a decent tornado threat. I think it's really going to be more of that potential for 50-mile-per-hour winds, possibly. Okay, so again, severe levels likely not going to happen, but it does remain a small possibility. I don't believe this area is in a marginal risk yet, except for southern portions, extreme southern portions of Indiana. In fact, let's take a look at that right now. sbc.noaa.gov. You can get a good look at that for yourself. You can see, yep, extreme portions of southern Indiana are in that marginal risk for severe weather. They might shift it to the northeast with the latest model runs, but we'll have to see how that turns out as the models begin to change over the next several hours as well. But I'm going to keep my eye on it. If something does materialize across northern Indiana as well, may go out and just check out some nice little bubbling clouds that could possibly occur with this low pressure system as it moves off to the northeast. So we will see what goes on. But again, looking a lot less intense than what everyone was talking about at the beginning of the week. So good news there. But just the thing to watch out for is those thunderstorms with gusty winds, and then the isolated snow potential we have in the Upper Peninsula, and that rainfall that will be occurring as well. Hopefully this video is helpful and informational to you. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated. I will continue to provide updates as this event comes through. And again, I didn't really address the lake effect snow setup too much in this video because I don't think there's going to be enough to cause detrimental impacts, but I do think there will be some snow on the back side. In fact, if I'll show you that real quick before I take off here. But okay, the newest models are coming in. I'm gonna have to check those out too. But as this begins to render here, if you look as this moves through in the afternoon, you'll see, and as we get into the overnight hours, some lake effect snow beginning to develop across portions of Michigan. But you see it's relatively isolated and it's not going to be lasting too long. Maybe some quick bursts of snow that could lead to a quick half-inch accumulation. Not going to be too detrimental to travel impacts. So that's basically what's going to be going on. So just keep your eyes peeled if you're in southern Indiana, southern Ohio tomorrow. Not looking like too big of a threat, but just something to watch out for. And hopefully everyone stays safe out there during this storm. Not a big storm, but still always good to keep your ear to the ground on what's going on. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I will see you all later.